This is Cynthia with the Marijuana Mind podcast on site at the Flowery again in Ocala, one of our most near and dear favorite places to be. We got invited back for the road show that they are doing, and I have an amazing guest here. This has actually been something I've been looking forward to all, 3 weeks now since they invited us. I really wanted to be able to interview somebody that was part of the Packwoods brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is Kevin Ford. Okay, he works for Packwoods, and obviously you're working for an iconic brand with a lot of loyalty to it.
Sure.
How do you feel about that with your new role that you're in?
Yeah, no, it's an honor, right? I mean, there's a lot of development as it relates to like brands and like who is demanding the attention from consumers, and it's really unique that there's brands that have the ability to sort of be ubiquitous across the country and like have like notoriety. I think there's a lot to be said about like local brands depending on like what region you are. Like Michigan is a market that Packwoods is in, but that like has a very strong pride in like cannabis that's grown in Michigan and like the brands that develop there. And so it's a very delicate balance to like be a brand that like goes into these markets so quickly, but honored is the answer to be able to like be a part of a team that represents so much of the cannabis culture.
They really do.
Yeah, and then to be doing it in Florida is just like, where I grew up, where I'm from, like it's just like,
see, you're from Florida, not LA.
Not from LA.
Where the brand is.
So the brand was developed in Los Angeles. Launched in Vegas as one of the also one of the first markets, and I was actually in Vegas for 5 years, so that was my first exposure to cannabis, and then that was, obviously from a job standpoint, and then my first exposure to Packwoods as a brand, and then I've been operating in a lot of different markets across the country in this industry for 5 years, and so every time I go into a state, I see Packwoods, right? Yeah. It's like, they're growing so quickly, no pun intended.
I love it.
But yeah, so
we love the puns, so it's okay.
Originally from Orlando, spent some time in Vegas, and now I'm back in Orlando, and couldn't be happier to like working in cannabis now in Florida.
I think that's kind of like telling for the brand itself, because Anthony Capone,
our founder CEO.
I listened to a podcast that he did with a group in Nevada.
Yeah.
It was actually at a
consumption lounge.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a store called Nubu.
Yeah, two guys, exactly.
Yeah.
It was December 2022. And so they asked him, okay, where are you at? And he's like, Arizona, Nevada, and then he said Florida. And he talked so highly of the Flowery Group. I've never heard a CEO that's a big, large, iconic brand partner of an MMTC stop everything in front of a dispensary group and say how much he adored the Florida market, and I just thought it was amazing because he's a big player, but he's obviously from New York and then goes to LA, and then just like Rona for cannabis is everywhere. What he did mention on this podcast is his affection for imitators.
Sure.
Oh
yeah. Absolutely.
Have you seen anything out in the market that kind of, you coming in, you take ownership over this role, does it kind of piss you off a little bit?
No, imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
I've heard.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when you see competitors in your category start to mimic the style in which you're presenting the plant and the different innovative ways of consumption that we are an industry leader in, right?
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to the premium, high-level connoisseur products that we put into the market, whether it's from our glass tip to the manufacturer of our sauce that's going into our classic blunts, like every level of the supply chain, there's a meticulous, very well vetted process of making sure we're working with the best of the best. And so when, you see people that try to imitate, but do you know that they're not taking the same standards and vetting that you do? The customer's going to know, right? We're appealing to the educated and to the connoisseurs, and so when they have our product, they know there's not many out there that can do what we do.
Right. So tell me a little bit about the relationship that Packwoods has with the Flowery.
Yeah.
Very limited licensure in Florida, and vertical integration is kind of a nightmare for some, but it seemed like the brand picked and just became family to
Sure.
the Flowery.
Yeah, I mean, the Flowery is such a true, and you know, you hate throwing out the words, it's overused so much in our industry, but like they really are doing body the culture down there. I mean, they have some of the best flower in the state, arguably the country, and I'm not the toted connoisseur when it comes to like flower,
Yeah.
right? But I've seen a lot of flower around the country, and
Uh-huh.
when you see what they're doing down here, you know, not everybody has the luxury of going behind closed doors and seeing the
Right.
processes of how these companies operate, but I can tell you, like, they're operating at an extremely high level. And there's a lot of big money and big companies in Florida, as we all know.
Oh yeah.
That have not been able to turn a product the way the Flowery is turning it, and they've been in the game much longer and with multiple facilities, with multiple people. So the brains behind
I'm
what's
like
going
smiling
Yeah.
like really wickedly because you don't know what I do for a living.
Okay.
So like
I don't.
I love it.
I don't.
I love it.
Yeah.
But because you're speaking so candidly and you're saying things that it makes me so proud.
Yeah.
Because I'm their lab, you know.
Okay.
I test their medicine.
Okay.
We were there from day one, got to see them grow at the beginning when
Yeah.
it was, you know, they were just kind of figuring shit out.
Mhm.
And they're veteran owned
Yeah.
and they're family.
Yeah.
And all
It's-
these people freaking work there,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so now you're there and you're talking about them and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
you get it.
Yeah, and I've been there for a hot 3 weeks, you know, like
It
as
doesn't
I told you,
matter, though.
and it's like, and again, like it just goes to just, you know, I spent time, and you know, in 5 years they say in cannabis it's like dog years, so you know,
Is
it's
that what
like,
they say?
yeah,
Oh
it's-
shit, okay.
You know, like it's only been 5, but it feels like forever. And it's like, you know, the initial smell test when you're around some of the people, you're like, oh, they're doing something down here in Homestead. For
They
sure.
really are. They're a
Yeah.
talented group, and I think that y'all wouldn't just frivolously pick
Mm-mm.
just any grower,
No.
and you wouldn't pick someone that's going to embarrass
Yeah.
your brand.
Absolutely not.
And so you made a good decision.
Mhm.
So tell me about what Packwoods has here at the Flowery for purchase,
Yeah.
for patients, and then hopefully it's pretty good placement for adult use, do you think?
Yeah, no, I think absolutely.
I'm pretty sure
So
the
we'll see.
patients with like the glass crutch thing
Yep.
is kind of hard to sell them on,
Yeah.
but it is actually really cool.
Yeah. No, I mean that specific product is one that we've seen immense growth in the past just 6
People
weeks
love
alone. Yeah, it's a what we call our heavies, right? So we have 2 lines of products, flagship products that we have nationally. Our our soul and our first product is our blunt, right? It's our classics line,
Yeah.
right? So those are going to be your 2 to 2.5 gram blunts, depending on the market you're in and the laws around your pre-rolls. Indoor flower, obviously only sourcing premium, typically rolled in keef, right? And then infused with some sort of sauce or concentration.
Yeah, they don't
inside.
let you have all that.
They don't
kind of
have that
fun
here in Florida,
because,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so, and then we also have our heavies, right, which is just a play on our classics, but with, your typical joint paper, right? And so, our heavies are going to be our 2.5 gram joints.
Damn.
And those are glass tip as well, and we actually sell those here at the Flowery. So
2.5.
2.5 gram, it's like a finger, right?
Okay.
It's the size of my finger. It's a big boy, and they're like, so they're cylinders, right? So they're not cones. So it's a very smooth smoke. You're able to smoke it all the way down to the glass, right? And not everybody, there's a lot of good filter mechanisms that don't give you a nasty taste when you get to the end, but a lot of what you see on the market are, the paper tips that, like, as soon as you're getting to the end of your joint, it's
I give up.
Yeah.
I do. I'm like, well, I guess it's
harsh.
over
That
now.
doesn't taste the way that the bud's supposed to taste.
Yeah.
And speaking of such high quality flower at the Flowery, right? We want to make sure that we're experiencing it from the beginning to the end, the way that it should be consumed. And so those glass tips are just a very nice touch to be able to fit the full finished product. I actually got a tip. Shout out to Brittany at the Flowery. In Jacksonville.
Ooh.
Last night she told me that she takes her heavies and she puts them in the freezer for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then takes them out and then smokes it the same way, the same idea around putting ice in your bong and the glass. And so
That's right. Yes.
This you do. So
Okay,
I've been
so
sleeping
that
on
makes
this.
sense now.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like almost like
The
the
glass
ice
tip.
shelf
Yeah, put it in the
for the
freezer.
for the
yeah.
bong, and the
Yeah.
ice shelf that will make it just a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's just smoother. There's no
Uh-huh.
coughing.
Yeah.
Like even I've never good weed. You just don't cough afterwards.
Mhm.
I cough when I have shitty weed.
Yeah.
Like or hay.
Uh-huh.
But I mean,
Or
they,
hay.
yeah. But I mean, I get it now. So
Yeah.
so putting it in the freezer. Okay.
Yeah, so our classics lines you can find here at the Flowery. We have obviously great flower that we package in eighths and quarters as well. And so one of our popular strains we have is our banana macaroon, and then our Z-Chem as well. And so like,
is that like gaseous?
A little bit.
Diesel offensive?
Yeah,
That's me.
Yeah.
That's me all day, every day. I want to be offensive and like kerosene.
Oh yeah, you open up that bag of Z-Chem and
you don't need to
loud.
open it.
It's the loudest.
If you leave it in your car for like a little bit with these hot Florida days, like you're riding around the mountains.
Your car smells great.
Yeah, it's so great. It just smells like felony.
Yeah, just go to the speed limit. Limit.
Oh, I go way under.
Yeah.
I stop at the stop sign to turn green.
STOP. There you go.
Exactly. And go. Yes, exactly. So you must have been behind me sometime.
So our flower, and then we also have a really high quality line of vapes. So we have 1 gram vapes. They're disposables. They don't look disposable. You actually feel really bad throwing them away because they're such a nice piece of hardware.
They're substantial too. They have some weight on her.
Yeah.
She's got some weight on her.
She's got some weight on her, but it's still very sleek. It's flat. It's almost like, I hate to throw out the comparison to like a Juul, but it is like that sort of style vape, but it doesn't have a pod, so it's all, but yeah, it's been great. It's a great device.
How much comes in the...
It's a 1 gram.
1 gram,
yeah,
okay.
1 gram. Some great Citrus Sunrise is my favorite.
Disposables usually aren't a gram.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. And it's a good price point. Does
it lose battery at all?
No, but if it does, it recharges.
Oh,
so
cool.
There's a little charger at the bottom of it. So yeah, we thought about it.
How do we make it undisposable? Because it feels like that's gonna be worse to throw it away.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
It's a rechargeable disposable.
You feel bad throwing it away.
Yeah.
But like, no, I mean, I don't think unless you're a mad scientist who want to refill your pens, but that's on your own time, and
kind of.
Don't come back to the flower.
Yeah, exactly.
Just re-up.
No, exactly. We don't encourage the refilling of anything. Just go back and get more weed.
Yeah.
It's totally fine.
Just go back and buy some more.
Yeah, just buy
as long as you
more.
didn't hit your limit.
Yeah. Oh no. See, I never hit my limit.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know how to work the system.
Of course.
Yeah. And I will teach whoever wants to learn. So, I think it's great what you're doing. Now, is there anything coming up for the Packwoods brand? Is there anything that the listeners, viewers should know about?
Yes.
Go ahead and plug your shit.
Yeah, so coming down, so our heavies have been very popular. If you haven't tried those, check them out. Those are the 2.5 gram glass tip.
That one
joints.
will probably exhaust somebody's wreck right there.
Yeah, that would definitely put you over.
Yeah, so save for the heavy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so to help you with that is that we actually have what we call our glones, GLONES.
Okay.
Just to play on glass cones, right? And so these are cones that have the glass tip, right? So again, continually putting an emphasis on our packaging and high quality actually inputs to our products. So those are 1.5 grams. Glass tip, those are more the cone style versus like the cylinder style.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for those as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I'm so glad you were able to join. And I know it's like, the apocalypse outside right now.
I know.
Because I can hear it.
Yeah, it's thunder and lightning. Florida is being Florida right now.
I know. It's like, what the Florida. But I'm just glad we didn't lose power. So that's good. So this is Cynthia signing off for the Marijuana Mind. And Justin is in Tokyo. So if anyone was wondering where he is, I highly doubt they were. That's where he's at. We will have part 2 coming up, and thanks again, Kevin, for.
I'm like, where's
the camera?
See you later.
This will be great. Have a wonderful one. We'll talk to you next time.